Hello, welcome to today's lecture. The Gilded Age finale just went off a couple of weeks ago, and during that time of the Gilded Age, of course, there was great wealth beyond anybody's really imagination. Now, the Gilded Age took place between roughly 1870 to 1900, and it included robber and barons, and of course, we know Rockefeller and Carnegie, people like that. But within this Gilded Age, there were people called the 400. These were the 400 richest families in New York. Now, on the show, Miss Astor, and even in history, Miss Astor says she coined it, but on the show, we saw that Mr. McAllister said he was the one who coined the term the 400. Well, these 400 people, they were wealthy beyond imagine, and they really had pretty much a soft life. They just had a bunch of balls and teas and meetings, but they also moved the policy of the nation. And a lot of them were liberals. And so that's why you saw a lot of abolitionists also come out of this class of people, and finance a lot of what you saw happening in the South as far as getting them out and getting, during the Civil War. But then there were those who also financed the other side. So these people did whatever they wanted to with their money. Now, this 400 is very different than the Talented 10th. And I really wanted to lecture on this and talk about this because sometimes people get this confused. They don't clearly understand what the Talented 10th, who they were or what they are. And they think that the Talented 10th is the Black equivalent to this 400 that I just talked about, but they're not. And so I wanted to lecture on this. So I welcome everyone. I'm Lady TrenettWilson, your lecturer and social historian. I want to thank you all for taking some time out of your schedule. Royalers, hello, my family. Thank you all so much for being here. Y'all, we're almost at 45,000 subscribers, over 2 million views. Black history, elite Black history is so interesting. I think you're going to find this subject just as interesting as all of the rest of our subjects that we talk about here. So let's talk about this Talented 10th. Now, I do want to say, though, there were wealthy Black people during the Gilded Ages, Gilded Age. And so, we do a lot of lectures around that. My newest one is going to be on Bridget Biddy Mason. She was in Los Angeles, California, once a slave. She amassed a fortune in real estate. She would be worth $10 million today. So, we have to, you know, recognize these people, in my opinion, and I'm so glad that you're here with me to do it. If you're a visitor, hello, welcome, welcome. So let's get into our understanding of the Talented 10th. Now, the Talented 10th was an essay that W.E. Du Bois wrote in 1903. It was in a book written by Booker T. Washington, which was a compilation of essays called The Negro Problem. Now, a lot of people thought, oh, I thought the Talented Tenth was an ideology or a even policy, but it wasn't. It was an essay. It began as that. Now, W.E. Du Bois, his name was William Edward Bernhardt Du Bois, was born on February the 23rd, 1868. And he was a historian, a Pan-Africanist, and a civil rights leader. He was actually one of the founding members of the NAACP. And W.E.D. Du Bois was an intellect, most of all. He thought education could pull the Black community out of its despair and put them on better footing. Now, the term the Talented Tenth, it was reportedly originated among white Southerners called the American Baptist Home Mission Society. What they wanted to do was establish Black colleges in the South to train Black teachers and the elite. Now, Du Bois' Talented Tenth ideology believed that 1 in 10 Black men who had cultivated their leadership abilities, and they could gain a college education, and then by writing books and becoming directly involved with social change, they could pull the Black people up from their bootstraps. So the top down theory. He believed if we could concentrate, the energy and our resources in these top 10 people, 1 out of 10 men, not even no women, 1 out of 10 men, that this could happen. He felt accomplished Blacks should use their resources to build the Black community. Now, I do believe that. Too many times, Black people, we get wealthy and we move away from the communities that we're supposed to support and give to. Now, one Black person can't do it all, and I'm not one to say, hey, you move into a really rough community and live there with your family scared around, gates and fences. But we should give back in some kind of way. We should be present in that community, whether, it's building schools or opening pools. That's one thing that is so astounding to me. Many Black communities do not have pools that all the kids could go swim at. Now, having a pool doesn't cost a lot. So Black people could get together and do something like that. So he felt like this is what we need to do. We need to have, schools there. We need to have tutoring programs, all of that. Now, his biggest proponent, actually, the man who wrote the book, Negro Problem, Booker T. Washington, he believed agriculture was a way to get to the wealth, to get to our next sustainable generations, teach our kids how to sustain on the earth. So there was a real big difference, either intellect or agriculture. You tell me down below, what do you think? So let's continue on. Now, he felt that classical education was king to unlocking these doors of opportunity. But, of course, the agriculture thing was Washington's point of view. Du Bois felt men who were educated should seek political office, which could address segregation and help Black communities have, representation. Over time, though, Du Bois began to see kind of differently, and he began to think differently, and he changed his view. He said that an education, later on allegedly, that an education alone could not be the only source of Black uplift. Because oftentimes people who were highly educated, how can I put this, nicely? They lacked a moral compass, integrity, and character. Uh-oh. Why? Because Black people had been being put in power and they were taking advantage of that power. So the Black uplift wasn't solely based on how smart you are, how connected you are, or how connected your family was, but also to how closely you walked with God, how closely you walked with truth, and what you were willing to do to get the wealth that you had obtained. Now, we see that today. We have a lot of African American politician embroiled in scandal. And I understand white folk do it. White people been doing it a long time. Politicians been doing it. White politicians been doing it a long time. So have we. We are talking about 1800s. And the thing about it is when European people do that to their people don't suffer as much as we as Black people suffer because it's fewer of us and the resources are fewer. So what we do as Black politicians is extremely important. Decisions that we make socially, very important. So who were the talented 10th? The 1 in 10 Black men that Du Bois felt could change our world. Were they able to do it? What do you think, in your opinion? I do believe that we do see um, some growth because of these people's work. James Fortin, all these people who did invest in the Black liberation, from freedom, from slavery to freedom in those days. And as we came up out of that, the education that was taking place and the families that were intact. And then as we begin to progress more, he feels the more we were educated, the more families began to suffer. Is there a correlation? What do you think? I'm an educated woman. And so I don't believe my education has steered me away from morals or values and integrity. In fact, they have so more solidified it because I wasn't looking for education to be my ideology. I knew who I was going in. I knew who my savior was going in. So I didn't step on a college campus to learn who to be or how to be. I stepped on a college campus to learn how do I take who I am and apply it to the world. And so I think if we look at education in those terms, we can do a lot better. So I thank you for joining me for today's lecture. I hope that you have learned a lot about the Talented 10th. As you know, my lectures are always for educational and entertainment purposes only, and the fair act. Now, I want to continue to invite you to learn by clicking down below on one of those great videos. And don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. And I want to thank you all also for supporting the work of Royal Black and Elite through your cash apps, buying the book. You all, I appreciate you. So have a great day, and thanks for watching.